Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Rosadsky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our February edition of Wake Up Newport. We're still on Zoom here, but as luck would have it, I got an email this week that the city's getting ready to reopen the community room, so hopefully we'll be back in person next month. But in the meantime, we have a great speaker here for you today, someone who is going to tell us about a little known hidden gem in Newport Beach that I was telling him a little bit earlier. I think most people, if you walked up to him and asked them, do we have a college here in Newport Beach? The answer would be, what college? So hopefully he's going to fill us in on what's going on over there at Coastline. And I'm sure it's going to be something that will benefit all of us. I will say that if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We'll be addressing all the questions towards the end, and he's agreed to stick around after his talk to hopefully answer your questions, as well as, maybe Alberto and I will pop out with a few as we tend to do. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Alberto, and he's going to introduce our speaker this morning. Take it away, Alberto.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us again this morning for Wake Up Newport. It's a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Vince Rodriguez this morning, and we're looking forward to hearing all that you have to share about your school. So Dr. Vince Rodriguez was born and raised in Orange, California. He graduated from Orange Coast College with an associate degree and went on to earn a bachelor's degree in information technology and a master of arts in education at University of Phoenix in Tempe, Arizona, with an emphasis in distance learning and adult education. Oh, what great timing, right? In 2011, he completed his dissertation, Relationships Between Student Characteristics and Student Persistence in Online Classes at a Community College, and earned a doctorate in educational leadership from Cal State University, Long Beach. Go Beach! Dr. Rodriguez has been a member of the Coast Community College District in California since 1998, and has worked as a classified employee, instructor, and administrator. Over his 20 plus years at Coastline, he's provided leadership at each of Coastline's learning centers and spent many years overseeing a distance learning program that accounted for nearly 75% of enrollments at the college. So I'm sure that went up to 100% during the COVID time, right? Again, you're looking down that road. In 2012, Dr. Rodriguez was appointed as Vice President of Instruction at Coastline, and in 2021, he became President of Coastline College. In May of 2020, Dr. Rodriguez was the recipient of the Aspen Institute College Excellence Program. He was one of 40 leaders selected for the 2020-21 class of the Aspen Rising President's Fellowship, a highly selected leadership program preparing the next generation of community college presidents to transform institutions to achieve higher and more equitable levels of student success. He's a resident of Huntington Beach, and his free time he volunteers for AYSO in Costa Mesa and has served as a referee for the Daily Pilot Cup tournament. Welcome, Dr. Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. I'll share one more tie-in with Newport Beach. I've had daughters graduate from Newport Harbor High School, lived in the community of Newport Beach for a while, and continue to live in our local community here. So thank you for that. Today, what I'd like to do is spend about 25 minutes or maybe a little more talking about our college, who we are, where we are, because as Steve mentioned, we do have a center in Newport Beach that we'd like to share and talk about our past, talk about the current state of education, which you might have read one of the articles recently that I think was highlighted by the Chamber about declining enrollment in higher education, and talk about where we're going as a college. So the building that you're seeing right here is the building that is currently under construction in Fountain Valley. This is our student services building, where students all employees are that help our students with financial aid, getting registered for classes, any of their basic needs,
Vince,
yes.
To interrupt, I don't see your PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me
yeah.
quickly share that again. Okay, is
There
that
we
coming
go.
up now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so this building is going to be finalized here in April or May of this year. It'll be completed and again, holds those services that were mentioned earlier. And if you're wondering where that's at, that's in Fountain Valley on the corner of Warner and New Hope. It actually is replacing a building that we had for many years that was there on the corner of Warner and New Hope, but many people didn't know who we are. That was one of the first buildings that Coastline College owned. The next building that we built for our college was in Garden Grove. This was in the 90s. This was a partnership with the city of Garden Grove. They actually provided the land, and through a partnership with them, then they were able to lease part of the facility and get revenue for 20 years of leasing part of that building. Cal State Fullerton was in there for those 20 years. And then at the time that the lease came up to an end with the city of Garden Grove, Cal State Fullerton actually moved their programs across the street from their main campus to a new facility they had purchased. So we have this first partnership with the city of Garden Grove. It's right next to the community center and City Hall there near Garden Grove Boulevard and Euclid. The next facility that we built was in Westminster. It's called our Le-Jao campus. It's named after the Lee family and the Jao family. Lee from Lee's sandwiches. Jao from Frank Jao, who is a real estate developer in the area and has a long tie-in with the college. And this is again across the street from a community center. This is across the street from the Westminster City Hall and the police department. As this was being built, also the Rose Center right next door and the Memorial Park were all at the same time. So it was all planned together of how we would work with the city and how they would coexist and support each other. This facility primarily focuses on English as a second language, humanities, and international language programs. The one in Garden Grove that I just showed, the focus in that site is primarily technology. A lot of computer networking. So if you want to learn how to wire computer networks and work with Cisco and those types of technology, digital media, that's what is housed at that Garden Grove Center. And then the one you're probably most interested in is our Newport Beach campus. This campus is at 1515 Monrovia, over there near the Hoag Hospital area up on that plateau. It overlooks Banning Ranch. So if you're familiar with that, if you're familiar with the old Road and Track magazine building that was next door, now is being developed by Pacific Christian High School. This facility is a gorgeous facility. Anyone that ever visits this facility wants to switch and take their classes at this location. If they work in higher education, they want their office here. And even this past year, we held a wedding on the terrace. If you notice the picture down below, that's the backside view if you were looking from the Pacific Ocean and Banning Ranch area. And there's a terrace there where we've had events. This site focuses mostly on the arts, science, and also students with disabilities. We have quite a few programs for students with disabilities. We provide mainstream support for any student that might be in one of our classes that might need assistance because of a disability. We have a world-renowned ABI program, acquired brain injury. So we have students that come to us and they've acquired a brain injury from a variety of different means. It may be from a car accident. It may be trauma to the brain. It may have been a stroke, may have been a drug overdose. There's a variety of ways that they've acquired an injury to their brain. And after they get released from the hospital and they do their initial therapy, they're usually referred to our college because our faculty do a phenomenal job of helping those individuals then continue to improve so that they can get back to the life as best they can. So they're helping with, if they're having trouble with speech, how can they help with their speech? If they're having mobility issues, how can they help with mobility? And the other one I'm always amazed on is oftentimes there's memory challenges, and the faculty have taught tremendous ways that students can help improve their memory or utilize tools to help with their memory. So if you think about the movie for 50 First Dates, we have had students that are very similar to that don't remember what they learned the day before. So they are using tools and the faculty help them through that. So I've always seen this as something that we never want to go away, because we're each an instance away from us or family members ever needing this. A few other things that are highlights from this center is we have a big program for students with intellectual disabilities. Again, that's one that we've had for many years so that we can help students. And then lastly, over the last few years, the faculty have worked closely together to create career options for students. And some of those students with intellectual disabilities, we've helped to provide classes and training so they can get into jobs. And upon graduation, the very first class, it was exciting to hear of a gentleman that was sharing that he had already got a job. In fact, he didn't have one job. He had multiple job offers to him so that he could work. And he was so happy to be able to move along that. So those are some of the areas. I'll also showcase that this Newport Beach campus has an art gallery. For years, we used to have an art gallery in another city that was off-site, but now we have it on our campus. And our professor in art has done a fabulous job of connecting the Newport Beach Center and the art from our faculty and from our students, and also showcasing local artists. For the last couple of years, we've had to do them virtually, but we're looking forward to later this month being able to have another art show and showcase in the gallery again. So we're excited about that. Lastly, what I'll say is I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of the college, but this location, as well as the others, since they are publicly owned, we make available to others, especially for the nonprofits, for the service organizations. If anyone is looking for a place to host an event, we're happy to discuss that. We want this to be a community destination, a place where the local community can utilize the facilities. And we, for a appropriate price, we will lease it out for things like weddings and other events. I'm gonna pause a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about our past and how we got started, and then I'm gonna talk about the overall educational landscape today. Coastline College was started in 1976, and it was all about access. We had many situations in our community college district. Our sister colleges of Orange Coast College and Golden West College are the others that are very well known in our district. But at the time, we were focusing on, and the president focused on, how could we offer a different opportunity for education? Students that couldn't generally come to a traditional campus, or students that didn't feel comfortable coming to a traditional campus because they might be older, what we would normally deem as the adult school or the night school students were looking for some place that was convenient for them. So they did a miraculous thing in 1976. In January, they decided that we need another community college to offer a different style of teaching. And by September, they had it approved by the Board of Trustees, approved by the state, and they opened in September with record enrollment of over 22,000 students, a record that's still held today for the first opening of a public college on the first day of enrollment. And the classes were taught at over 100 locations. The college was set up without having a physical destination for the college, 100 locations throughout our service areas. So they were renting at the time high schools or any of the elementary schools that were closed. We'd rent space in there, community centers, rec centers, retirement homes, churches, any place they could find that was convenient. And what happened is we were the college without walls and the college beyond walls, but we were convenient because we were close to where people lived and worked. They didn't have to come to one main campus. The other thing that we did is at the time, the college was focusing on using television and KOCE and broadcasting television programs that were our classes. Those were the lectures. The student would watch the lecture on KOCE and they would mail in their homework, they'd mail in their assignments, and they would come on campus for twice a semester for their midterms and finals. So it was more convenient for those students that couldn't come on campus for other means. Lastly, as technology evolved, the VCR, the cassette tape, DVDs, we started leveraging those so the students didn't have to rely on KOCE broadcasts anymore. They could get them as they wanted. And we're going to talk about how that became on demand. So early on, Coastline was unique because we were the only college in California that was focusing on this television-based model and out in the community, and the students didn't have to come onto a traditional campus. As we fast forward over the years to 1998, we started with our first online class. By 2005, we had full certificates and degree programs online, while many of the colleges and universities were still exploring how to offer online classes. By 2015, every college had some online class. And then 2020, we all know what happened there. COVID was the big disruptor. At that point in COVID, March of 2020, nearly every community college in the state went online, and now everyone had online programs. So that really changed things for Coastline. And for us, we started thinking about how can we get back to a competitive advantage and what makes us unique. I'm going to switch gears for a minute, talk about the state of education in general, and then we'll come back to what we're going to be doing in Coastline moving forward. So first, you might have seen this article, more than 1 million fewer students are in college, lowest enrollment numbers in 50 years. And so we've been having a lot of discussions in higher education of what this means. I'm going to throw out a few ideas as far as possible causes. Some of it's COVID. Some of it, as we're seeing in the business community, Chamber of Commerce is a great conversation for this, is how many of our businesses are having trouble hiring people for the jobs where before they didn't have trouble with that. So during COVID, people were worrying about just surviving their basic needs. So education may have been on the back burner where before it was a priority for them. There's availability of high wage jobs in our community. There are quite a few high wage jobs that don't require a degree or certificate. And so there's more opportunities for students to, rather than go to school, maybe go right into the workforce. There's free educational opportunities. I think we've all noticed how Google and others have been providing free classes that people can learn on their own. So as a result, the colleges are really being forced to think about, is this degree program something that is needed and required for a student to get a good job? Or is there a competitive free opportunity out there the student doesn't require? So that's going to be changing some of our programs in higher education. And lastly, the consumer perceptions of college degree attainment are changing a little bit. They're questioning, do I need that degree? Is it really required for me to get into those jobs? So you're going to be seeing a shift over the years. This is something that most people are hearing about now as far as declining enrollment, but in California community colleges, it's actually been going on for about 5 years now. We've been seeing this happening. Also, as I follow last month, we had Dr. Smith from Newport Mesa Unified School District talking about where they are. We know in Orange County, California, and in California in general, the number of students graduating from our high schools is going to continue to decline. So we know that there's going to be less demand for education. As a result, that's forcing us to really look at what we do and how we do that. Also, I've had some people ask, well, Vince, why is it that the community colleges seem to have far fewer enrollments than the University of California or Cal State University system? And for me, this visual of a water fountain really tells the story. If you think of this water fountain and full to capacity, all the water, and we keep flowing. So obviously when you have a water fountain and water coming out of the top, you have the UC system at the top. They get to select the top students with the highest GPAs, and that's going to fill up. And once that is full, then those students are then overflowing to the next level, which is the Cal State system. The Cal State system doesn't have as selective a process as the UCs. They get to serve more students, but they still have a very selective process where they choose the next level of students. Once that is full, then those students, if they didn't get in the Cal States or the CSU, then they're referred to the community college. And then we also have students that'll come directly to us. But bottom line is the number of students looking for education in California right now is less than it was before. So the Cal State system and the UC systems are still filling up approximately to capacity for the most part. And then the remaining students that are looking for educational opportunities are far fewer. And that's why you're seeing fewer at the community college compared to the UCs and CSUs. They're impacted, but not quite the same as us. The second thing to keep in mind for the community college, the Cal State serves the top percent, and then Cal State Fullerton, the next level, we serve the top 100%. Anyone that comes to us is able to come to us, but it's far fewer at this time. So as a result, we're thinking, well, why is that? Why are students not coming? And one of the things you'll hear, and you'll hear some colleges talk about, that college wasn't built for them. College was built on an old model of requiring students to focus on college first. And you might work a little bit while you're in college, so you have some spending money. But that is not what most of our students are looking for today. They might be a young student that's on their own, and they're able to come to college and be able to focus on their education. They may be already working in a job and they want to balance that. What we're hearing more and more students say is, I want to go to school and I want to start my career, and I want to be doing both. Many of our students in California community colleges are family members. They want to come home from work and spend time with their children. And or they come home, spend time with their children and help them with their homework before they start doing their own homework. So they need a college and a university that fits their needs. Secondly, at the community college, what we're seeing is multiple generations of students working together. Brothers and sisters going to college together. Every year at our graduation, we will usually have a father and a son, a mother and a daughter, a mother and their son that are graduating together. So they're coming back to education. So bottom line is, what they're looking for is a college that meets their needs and their demands of family, their work life, needing to make money for their careers and start their careers already. So for the colleges, you'll probably hear some of us mention guided pathways, where we are working on how can we successfully guide students through college. I would be willing to bet, if I was to poll our audience today and ask those of you that completed college, that did you have an experience where the college and university gave you everything you needed to know at right when you needed it, guided you through, made it easy for you to know every single class you needed, when you were going to take it, and what is the order? Or did you fall in a category that I remember right out of high school, where I was given a college catalog, I met with a counselor, they told me how to look through this and select from all the different options. And for my AA degree, where I needed to complete 20 classes, there were about 300 options of how I might be able to make this program of study work. And I'd be willing to bet many of us that might have been in college long ago were more in that latter category. So for us, we're focused on how can we help a student select a career, and how can we prepare them for that career by helping them find the program of study that best prepares them. Fortunately, we have a career center that works very closely with our outreach specialists, and how we share that information to prospective students. How do we help them get into those programs of study and know what courses to take? More and more of us now are not giving the student the catalog with the 300 different options. What we're doing is we're giving a roadmap that says, congratulations, you wanted to study, you want a career in marriage and family therapy, therefore you're going to study psychology, and here's your roadmap with the 20 classes you're going to take in the order that you're going to take them. So we help keep them on their path. And then secondly, how do we ensure that they are learning? And how do we make sure that they're prepared for the career that they select? One of the things that I've been looking at more closely, and as a college, we're trying to gather this information, is how are we ensuring that students are earning a living wage after they graduate? I'm going to ask you again to think about your own situation. I think most of us on this webinar fall into 3 categories. We graduated from college and we work in that same field or a related field. We graduated from college and we are not working in anything related to the field we are in. Or we graduated, started working in that career, and then came back to college or university to change careers. So what we're trying to do is, how can we help the student select the career that is going to be fulfilling for them, get them to a living wage, because we can't have students have the luxury of time that happened 20 years ago, where you got to come to college and explore options and complete many more units than are required to graduate. The students are losing too much money in doing that and too much time. So as we do that, really we're focusing on how do we guide them through this whole process rather than navigate through the community college experience. As a result, there's a few areas that we focus on currently at college, and I'm going to share some information. Steve shared earlier that everyone went online back in 2020, and that is very true. And many people will say, but online provides flexibility that allows for students, but it's still a very traditional model. Students get to choose the day and time they study, but the class schedule is still semester-based or quarter-based, depending on whether you're at the quarter system or semester system. Everyone progresses at the same pace. Deadlines are established by the instructor. And if you need to travel out of town for work, you got to find a way to make it work. If you are sick for a little while, if you're sick for COVID in 10 days and you're not able to study, how does that affect things? At the traditional model, it's hard to keep up. It's designed from something from centuries ago. What we're living in now is an on-demand society. I've asked these questions, and I'm not going to go through the whole poll, but I'm going to ask you to think about, how do you get your news? I'd be willing to bet most of you, as soon as you hear that something might have happened, you go to your phone rather than turning on the television. Or if you turn on the television, you're going to a 24-hour news channel that's going to tell you what happened. We used to get it when I was growing up, the paper that came at 5 o'clock in the evening, or we had the evening news at 5, 6, or 7, and then again at 11. And if you didn't watch it at that time, you didn't know what was going on, and we would wait for the paper the very next day. Today, we want it now. As we complete training, we're doing this on our own, on demand, in a computer-based environment. Very few times are everyone coming together in the same room. Even groceries and goods. We went shopping for a new bed for my daughter this weekend, and before we even set foot into the store, she already knew the bed she wanted. She had researched it. She had done everything she wanted. In fact, she could have bought it online, but she just wanted to look at it there. Groceries are being delivered to our homes. We're buying items online and having it delivered to our homes, or we pull up, open our trunk, and the store puts them in the back of our car. We get them on demand. Even our entertainment. Last night, I was watching a show that I had downloaded on Disney Plus, and I'm watching the whole series at one time. I no longer watch them live each week as they are happening. So if our society is on demand, why shouldn't education? Coastline, or here's some apps that I'm sure you've seen. I'd be willing to bet that you have at least some of these on your phones. And for those of us that have teenagers at home, they probably have most of these on their phones. It's, again, an on-demand society. So one of the things that we are doing at Coastline, we're part of a pilot with 8 community colleges in California for something that we call competency-based education. Students get to decide the pace of their work. They decide when they start, when they want to study, when they're going to complete their assessments, and how quickly they move through it. And the biggest change is, rather than most of us remember college where as long as you pass with 70% or higher, you pass the course. This one, in these programs, you have to demonstrate that you're mastered the competencies that are required for the program. And these are competencies that the business community have told us that they need students to have when they enter these careers. And they have to pass it at a percentage of 80 or higher. And most students will be challenged to pass it at a percentage of 90. So we know they're competent in these areas, not just have passed at an average score of 70. Currently, across the United States, there's some well-known universities that are doing this. Southern New Hampshire University, Capella, Western Governors, Grand Canyon University, and UMass Online or UMass Global, or some of the ones you're probably seeing on television on a regular basis. But in California, there's currently no public entities that are doing education this way, where the student gets to pick the time and the pace. We are part of a collaborative with 8 other colleges, 2 in LA, 1 in Orange County, and 1 other one in Southern California. What's important to know about this, it's convenient for students with busy lives. They get to choose their start and end. They get to choose their pace. The other thing that's an advantage is many of us now, when we're coming to college, we have some experience in the work environment, and we can leverage that. So when you're using competency-based education, you can leverage that work experience. So if you already know something about business, or marketing, you're going to be able to go through much faster than the rest of the college or the class that you're working on. And once you show that you've mastered that competency, you can move on. So some students are able to do that quite quickly. For Coastline College, one of the things we're going to be focusing on is, as I mentioned, on-demand education, that competency-based education. You don't have to continue to go through the same pace with everyone else. This will be rolling out in fall of 2023. It's a new program. There's education code that needs to be rewritten and changed to allow us to do this in community college. The ways they compensate the community colleges and so forth are still being worked on, but we're going to be rolling this out. So we'll be able to compete with those nonprofits and those privates. For us, as we're looking at education, we're continuing to leverage the technology. How do we, especially a college that has online environments and online classes, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. So students can use virtual environments before they do the real application. Think of that in a chemistry class. If you do a virtual environment with some of your experiments before you actually go in and start mixing the chemicals. We can also create environments that we couldn't possibly have enough money to build by creating a virtual environment. And artificial intelligence, how can that weave into our processes to help improve the student experience? Lastly, one of the things that I want to share is, how do we measure success? For us, we're going to change from measuring it based on how many students graduate to how many students graduate and earn a living wage within an appropriate amount of time. Because if our students are graduating but can't afford to live in Orange County, then we are missing the boat. We need to do more to help them along the way. So we're going to measure our success based on the wages of our students. Over the years, I'll tell you that in 1976, the college was all focused on how do we provide more access to students. And around 2000, we started shifting to how do we measure our success and how well they're completing classes. But now we're looking at how do we measure our success by our students having financial independence, that they can actually have a job, have a family, and work and live here in our community. One thing I'll finish up with is, when we look at our college and I talk to our employees, we focus on the reason we exist to provide alternates to traditional models of education. There's another 115 community colleges that are very traditional. We want to be the option that has a different model for those active men and women that are looking for something different. We're doing it through on-demand education and services, so the students get it when they want it, 24/7. It would be our ideal situation. And lastly, if we're doing that, we can change people's lives through education. So I'm going to pause there as I've given an overview. I apologize that it's quite a bit over that time, but wanted to share what we're doing both in the community, what we have going on in Newport Beach, and what's happening at Coastline. We are, again, focusing on being a completely different model. I don't know, Steve, if any questions have come up along the way, or if you have any. I'd be happy.
I don't see any yet in the Q&A, but I certainly have a few. That was a great overview of, oh, wait, one popped in there, just as luck would have it. So, all right, well, here, this is from one of my own staff members, Jeff Parker. Jeff saying, as a parent of a high school sophomore, what advice can you give in terms of preparing for college given the impacts of COVID? Do you think there are skill sets that you see in incoming students that are lacking, that they are lacking, that impact their success?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One thing, as the high schools also dealt with COVID, they went online also for a period of time. One of the things we noticed when students come to our college and they're taking online classes, sometimes they weren't familiar with that environment. I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore as far as that perspective. But the key is, I know that the high schools, the K-12 system, have been providing career exploration. So figuring out what is the career you're interested in, we will continue to do so and explore those options. Also, check with those counselors at the high school. Our counselors at the community colleges and the high schools do work together, and they can help out. I think one of the things that happens, and I did the same thing. I didn't ask for help. I didn't go to the counselors in the high school like I should have to explore what were my options for college. And when I got to the community college, I didn't ask for that help until I went to ask about, am I ready to graduate? And they said, you just stopped taking classes. You were ready a year ago. So bottom line is seek out that help that you can from your counselors, seek out the help you can through the teachers that are in the areas that you're interested in studying. And secondly, one of the things people don't know is that while students are in high school, they can take college classes for free. They do not have to pay any fees. They're absolutely free. And then you earn the college credit. And I know that our K through 12 partners offer a lot of AP classes. And we know that that's often something that students can take so that they can improve their chances of getting to UCI or the UC systems or other colleges and universities. But the one thing that I've noticed, you mentioned at the beginning that I coach AYSO. So I usually coach the kids that are at high school or college age. Those that are in AP classes are usually having a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And while those classes provide an opportunity, they can also just take the classes directly from the local college and get the same credit. In fact, in some situations, the likelihood that the class transfers in AP is less than if they had just taken the college class directly. So there's an opportunity there to get a head start. And if you think about it, if they took one class a semester, they can do that. We have classes that our college, as well as Orange Coast College, are offering at Costa Mesa High School, Corona del Mar, Newport Harbor, and Estancia. So all of the high schools. So there's some opportunities there. Ask for the help and also search out some of those college opportunities that are already on your campuses that you can get a head start.
How transferable are those credits to like a Cal State or UC?
They're transferable just like any other class. So our college students are taking those and they're transferring to UCI. They're transferring to Cal State. And the chances of it being denied are far less than the AP class, because the AP class, they take the class, they have to take a test, and based on their score determines how many units they get. So they might not even get the full units that are required for that program. And I'm not saying this to disparage AP. I know many students that got to their dream college and their dream university because of those classes. But you do have to consider that I've seen it where students are saying, I got to study for my AP Spanish class and my AP math class tomorrow. And coach, I'm stressed out and I'm worried. And we're hearing that more and more. And so that's something to think about and balancing out. And the counselors can also help you with that.
What percentage of your students might go on to a four-year college to get the full degree?
I apologize. I'd have to get our researchers to show that. We are starting to see at Coastline more and more go to the UC system. That's continuing to increase. And many of our students at Coastline, it's interesting because most of our students are looking to transfer to the Cal State or the UC system. But we also are having quite a few that are transferring to out of state or private colleges because they're looking for more flexibility. They're looking for Coastline offers an entire degree online. And does the college or university offer that? And therefore, they're looking to University of Phoenix, Western Governors, Southern New Hampshire. They're looking to those other universities that provide that. So for us, it's a balance. We definitely do everything to prepare students for both the IGETC pattern for the UC and the CSU, but many of them will also choose other flexible models that I think higher education is going to continue to be challenged of how do we meet the needs of those students that don't want the traditional environment.
You have a question, Alberto?
I just want to mention, on the flip side, and Dr. Rodriguez, you mentioned it, UC, and I'm pretty sure for CSU is the same, but we've got a 2-to-1 goal in terms of admitting 2 transfer students for every freshman that we admit. So there is a very close partnership that the UCs, the CSUs, and the community colleges work on to get students their degrees.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Alberto, because the other thing that I often talk to people about, and I'm having a flashback to a story where I was coaching my soccer team. They're all high school graduates. And we've spent almost as much time talking about preparing for college as we did preparing for the next game. And behind them were the parents. And one of the parents went back to school based on the conversation we had. bottom line, where I'm going with this, if you come to the community college, you can transfer to the CSU, we can transfer to the USC, you can transfer to the destination college. And what we know is that by going through the community college, your chances of graduating are very high that when you do that transfer. And so I'm so happy you mentioned that, because so many times people feel that if I don't go right to UCI, I'm not going to get there. But you're just explaining that there are a lot of transfer coming in along the way, and that's helpful. The other thing to think about is you can reduce your debt or your overall cost in the first 2 years by coming to the community college. Some of our instructors are the same people. Some of our teachers that are teaching for us are teaching at the UCI or the Cal State Fullerton. So you come to the community college, you save that, or you also save more of your financial aid for later on when you're working on other degrees. So it has been a great partnership.
You mentioned that the college has been sort of a trailblazer and moving online and offering online courses, and but on the flip side, you're finding now competition with free courses and the Google and things. And I just thought it was sort of an interesting parallel with like chambers of commerce or a lot of businesses where this technology or the free economy has become such a part of our daily lives. I mean, we get so much free stuff now that really has a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, institutions like yours as well as ours have to learn to adapt to be able to provide some type of new value in order to get people to part with their money, because they say, well, I can just, I can go on Yelp or Craigslist or whatever, Google, and find 100 attorneys in Newport Beach. I don't have to call the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce to get a referral for one. And just like what you're saying, they can go to these other providers of free training or education and kind of maybe get what they think they need. So it's interesting that you guys are also trying to learn to adapt to the I know there's a term for it. It's like fronomy or free economy.
Well, I think it's challenging us to do better, to do more, and how can we find that niche? I also noticed a couple comments in the chat that I want to address. Is first off, when we're talking about how do we measure our success by living wages for our students, is someone mentioned internships and so forth, and those are things that we are expanding. In fact, one of the discussions are, should we have expanding job placement centers at the community colleges? The universities have them, and for me, it's more about, well, maybe how do we partner more with UCI and Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Long Beach, job placement centers, and how do we do better with internships and apprenticeships so that while they're in college, they can do those, because it's amazing how many people might go do an internship or an apprenticeship and then realize this isn't what I thought it was. And let's change that career path now. So any opportunity for that, we're continuing to expand that so that the students get more of that experience that'll prepare them. And I think that's a big focus for us in the near future of how we do better with that. And again, there's a great opportunity to partner with the CSUs and the UCs. Our business programs have been doing that for years and continue to expand. The other one that I want to thank Supervisor Foley on is we have Veterans Resource Centers. We have them in Newport Beach. We have them in Garden Grove. And we also have one in our Fountain Valley Center. Currently, we're doing remote work, so it's not as easy as convenient, but starting next week, they'll be opened up again, just like the city offices are. But the Veterans Resource Center is not only available just for students, but anyone in the community. And we have some veterans that are employees of the college working in those centers that really understand what our men and women need in our community. And it's incredible the stories they tell about someone walks in and they're homeless, and within a month, they've helped them to get money for food. They've helped them to get a place to live. They've got them into their educational classes with their GI Bill. And I'm so proud to say what our people have done in the Veterans Resource Center. So that's something many people forget about that our campuses have. And we have one there again in our Newport Beach campus. And I'm looking forward to a time when we have more activities on site, when we continue to showcase more and more of that.
So, sort of my introduction, I mentioned, the fact that it's probably one of the best kept secrets that there is that campus here in Newport Beach, because it's on the very far west end of town. And you kind of have to drive through a little bit of an industrial area to get to it. So you come to the end of the street, and all of a sudden this big open view comes out, and here's this college campus. So I guess my question is, and I see Sean Levin was on the call, I don't know if he still is, but Sean's with our Park and Rec department here in the city. What type of relationship do you have with the city? I mean, are you cross-pollinating programs? Are you trying to work with the city to bring Newport Beach residents, as well as others, but into the campus by, is there an opportunity to maybe collaborate?
Yeah, I think there's opportunities. I think oftentimes there's question about, does the city need locations for any of the events, the recreation center events, things like that. I think what tends to happen is the high schools reach out to us first. For example, we're partnering with Pacific Christian High School that's just down the street from us, and they use our computer labs and some of the other specialized rooms. We have been at times working, well, every time we built a center, we work closely with the city and also with the police and fire. The building that I was showing earlier, before it opened, the police and fire did exercises on that facility to practice before anyone else came on board. Also, when we tore down our building in Fountain Valley, we reached out to the city of Fountain Valley Police and Fire, and they partnered with Huntington Beach, and they tore the building apart, because they don't get that very often. So they utilize that, where they came through with battering rams and everything else for them to work. Right now, we're open to any partnership with the city on how we can help them. I think the city does have quite a few spaces, but if there's opportunity or need for spaces or for hosting events, we're looking forward to it. Steve, you and I were talking just before. Coastline has been in this community for many years. The building that I showed opened 11 years ago, but we want to partner more and have more discussions with the Chamber of Commerce and the city of how we can work together. So anyone that's interested, this site can be used for quite a bit. Over the years, Coastline continues to focus primarily our classes online. So there are days and times when this space can be rented or rooms can be rented. So if anyone's interested, remember our address is coastline.edu for our website. And from there, you can easily get a hold of us if you're looking for a location for community events. We especially want to partner with the civic organizations and the community nonprofits.
Well, I was thinking about it as you were talking about the art gallery that you have over there, and we actually have a group that the chamber is sort of the parent of called Leadership Tomorrow, and it's a leadership training kind of a program that spans 9 months, and we actually have an arts day coming up, and as it turns out, they're going to use our patio here for their arts day. But I was thinking, maybe it would be better or nicer or something a little different to take them to your facility. And so, well, maybe after we're done, or you can connect me with someone there. I don't know, maybe too late this year, but certainly next year. They do it every year as a way to expose the community, or what you guys have to offer over there.
I know our art department would be very happy to discuss that and look at that, because they already reach out to some of the art groups in Newport Beach, but they'd be happy to. I know that connecting to the city. In fact, most of the people that know Monrovia site there is primarily because of the arts. They're art aficionados, and so they've came in for some of the art shows. That's one of the biggest draws up to this point.
Well,
anyone knowing Banning Ranch also has seen our college.
I was going to say, you could certainly paint some pretty nice sunsets out of the back of your facility there. You have probably a view that I remember when you bought the property, because I actually used to have an office in the tall building that was on that property for a few years, and we had to move out because they were demolishing it, or I don't know if the police and fire department came in after us, but the building came down. But incredible location and view, and there's a good chance that nothing's going to be built on that property now that it looks like the Banning Ranch Conservancy is going to be buying that property from the oil companies that own it. So looks like you're going to have that view for a long, long time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Coastline. I don't know if there's any more questions, but we're here in the community. Again, Newport Beach. We've been at this location for approximately 11 years, and we're throughout Garden Grove, Westminster, and Fountain Valley. So we're here, and again, most of our classes are online. So anyone looking for some flexibility, we have that to offer, as well as arts and science there in Newport Beach is the hallmark for that site.
So one last thing, unless Alberto has something else he wants to ask. So clear up the confusion with the name, because I don't know how many times I'm always wondering, do I have it right? Is it Coast Community College? Is it Coastline? Is it, what is it? I think someone needs to arm wrestle somebody else for the name, and then the other guy or other woman has to, change the name. It's got to happen.
So we've added to the confusion. First off, we usually have a bet among us when we go to any events, whether it's a Chamber of Commerce or the city, if they're going to identify us properly. So starting to be, we are part of the Coast Community College District. So that's our district. Many people are familiar with Orange Coast College. We are technically Coastline Community College. We have shortened it for Coastline College for branding and advertising. So it's Coastline College or Coastline Community College in the Coast Community College District. But because Coast is in the district name, Orange Coast College name, and our name, it does often get confusing. But Coastline College is a separate college from Orange Coast College, and we'll go by Coastline College or Coastline Community College. Even though community is not in our name, we are definitely still in this community on a regular basis, and don't want to forget about the community ties that we have. So Coastline College or Coastline Community College, either will work, but you'll see Coastline College for most of our materials these days.
So the rowing facility or on the harbor next to the Boy Scout Sea Base, is that Coastline or Coast?
That's Orange Coast College.
Orange Coast College. Okay, so
yes.
So then I was wrong. We have two colleges in town, not just one, right?
Yes, that is a tremendous facility. They've expanded that. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but it was considered the part on the water there was the Dave Grant Sailing and Center for Sailing and Seamanship. I might have that slightly wrong. And then you're familiar with the new built part they built just across Pacific Coast Highway. Yes. And that's actually been named after Brad Avery.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that.
The Board of Trustees recently did that. So I don't want to steal the thunder from Orange Coast College and their president and from Brad. We'll let them talk more, but that is part of Orange Coast College. So that people do get very confused. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering how many people were thinking, well, what are you doing down there on the water? And
exactly. Well, if you ever want to stage an arm wrestling match for the name, I'm happy to host the event. We'll do it live on Zoom, and everybody can see, and then the loser, they got to be like Newport Beach Community College. How about that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. You helped to clear things up, and we're grateful to be part of this district, and we're collaborating with Orange Coast College. When we say they're our sister college, we really mean it. In fact, I've got messages coming back and forth right now between me and the president of Orange Coast College for a meeting we're having tomorrow about how we're going to work together on that session and what we're going to cover. So we will all work together, and if you call the wrong college, we'll get you to the right location.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you clarifying all that for us. And
well, one more point of clarification.
Oh, go ahead.
And thank you, Sean, for pointing that out. I was going to mention it. There are 3 colleges in Newport Beach.
Oh no.
UCI has not only the rowing program, but also the sailing program there at Marina Park.
That's true. That's right. They rent facilities there.
Right. So 3 colleges.
3 colleges. Okay. Well, see, we're a center for education in the Southern California. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. So that's pretty much our program. We are going to be going back to our in-person events. I've given my staff the go-ahead to start scheduling some of those things. So we have a few of them coming up. Unfortunately, I don't have my schedule in front of me, but we will be having our networking luncheon on the 3rd Wednesday this month. And we haven't found a location yet, but our Sunset Mixer will be at the end of the month on the fourth Thursday. So we look forward to anybody who wants to join us to come along to those events. And then next month, we'll be back in the library for Wake Up Newport. Our guest speaker will be our new mayor, Kevin Muldoon, and he'll be talking a little bit about the state of the city. Normally, our talk is after Speak Up Newport has their big mayor's dinner where he gives the state of the city, but because of COVID, they had a reschedule as well. So hopefully we'll get first dibs on Kevin's thoughts for what this new year brings. I mean, hopefully it'll be a transitional year for us here as we move away from the lockdowns and the restrictions and things due to COVID, and more back to a normal economy and civic life here in Newport Beach as well as Southern California. So looking forward to hearing Kevin's thoughts on that. And then last but not least, I'll mention that we've rescheduled from March 4th to March 31st our police appreciation breakfast that we host every year. I think this is our 49th annual this year, and tickets to that can be purchased online, and you can see about any of our events online at newportbeach.com. So once again, Vince, thank you for coming. Alberto, always good to see you. And
Likewise, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, take care and have a good rest of your week.